Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into, well, one of the most chilling and frankly enduring unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. The Zodiac Killer. This isn't just a series of brutal murders. It's a profound look at how a killer manipulated media, terrified an entire region, and left behind this puzzle that still captivates us, decades later.
It really is captivating. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how the killer just wasn't content with the act itself. They actively sought control, attention, and they meticulously crafted this terrifying persona through a relentless campaign, taunting letters, cryptic ciphers, symbolic threats.
Right.
It transformed what might have been, a more straightforward criminal investigation into this deeply unsettling psychological battle.
Yeah.
And this was primarily waged across Northern California, late 60s, early 70s.
And the thing that immediately underscores the profound ambiguity of this case is the sheer discrepancy in the numbers.
Yeah.
Officially, only 5 murders are definitively attributed to the Zodiac.
Yeah.
But the killer brazenly claimed responsibility for, up to 37 deaths.
37.
Yeah.
In his communications.
That massive gulf between confirmed and claimed victims, has fueled endless speculation, debate, and frankly, fear for half a century. So our mission today is to meticulously explore those confirmed attacks, delve into the really eerie possible linked crimes, analyze the killer's chilling communications that, shaped his legend, examine the tireless, often frustrating investigative efforts, understand the profound societal impacts, and of course, dissect the lasting cultural legacy of the Phantom Killer. We'll be drawing from historical records, haunting survivor accounts, intricate forensic analyses, and even some recent developments to try and illuminate the sheer complexity of this case for you, our listener.
Absolutely. Our journey today is about piecing together a narrative, not just from police reports, which are crucial, of course, but from the very fabric of a killer who actively tried to control that narrative. And maybe more critically, it's about understanding the immense human cost, the victims whose lives were so tragically interrupted, and the families, forever changed by these horrific events.
When we talk about the Zodiac Killer's confirmed crimes, we're really looking at a terrifying timeline. It truly exploded from late 1968 through 1969.
Right, a very concentrated period.
Yeah. The killer seemed to target young couples, isolated individuals, often choosing these scenic, secluded areas around the San Francisco Bay Area. What's so chilling is the sudden, just indiscriminate violence, the shifting use of different weapons, and as you highlighted, the killer's apparent enjoyment of the media frenzy that inevitably followed his attacks.
He fed off it.
Totally. And the law enforcement agencies specifically, Vallejo PD, Napa County Sheriff's Office, SFPD, they ultimately linked 5 murders and 2 attempted murders directly to the Zodiac. These links were established through a combination of, consistent ballistics, some eyewitness descriptions, and maybe most chillingly, the killer's own taunting claims in those infamous, audacious letters.
And this pattern, while it maybe initially appeared somewhat random in its selection of victims, it revealed a chilling adaptability in the killer's methods. The Zodiac wasn't rigidly bound by a single MO, he evolved. And that profoundly complicated the investigative process right from the outset.
Okay, so let's begin with the first confirmed attack. It's a truly heartbreaking incident. December 20, 1968, along Lake Herman Road.
Right.
This is a remote gravel lover's lane in Benicia, California, a quiet community, really, just outside Vallejo. The victims were high school students, David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16.
So young.
So young. And the poignancy of this scene is just amplified by the fact that it was their very first date.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. David was remembered as, a popular athlete at Vallejo High, bright, active kid. Betty Lou, a cheerleader, known for her outgoing, vivacious personality, big smile. They'd parked their Rambler station wagon in this secluded turnout around 10:15 p.m., just enjoying a quiet evening together.
And the scene itself, it just paints this stark picture of sudden, unprovoked brutality. Forensic ballistic evidence points to the assailant firing multiple shots from a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol, specifically identified likely as a J.C. Higgins Model 80 using Winchester Western Super X ammunition. Now, this particular model, while relatively common, it left distinct markings on the shell casings, and those became crucial forensic identifiers later on.
So David Faraday, he was tragically shot once in the head, point-blank range, as he tried to exit the car. Died instantly, probably trying to protect Betty Lou.
Likely, yes. And Betty Lou Jensen, in this desperate, courageous attempt to flee, she managed to run, about 28 feet?
Yeah, something like that.
Before she was struck 5 times in the back, collapsed face down on the road. Just brutal.
And what truly stood out to investigators right from the start was the complete absence of any signs of sexual assault or robbery.
Right. No obvious motive.
None. This wasn't about theft or any other, conventional motive. The act appeared purely homicidal, a deliberate taking of life without any apparent gain. Investigators found several spent .22 caliber shell casings scattered at the scene, solidifying the weapon's caliber, and distinctive tire tracks suggested the killer drove a light-colored vehicle, possibly a Chevrolet.
Mm-hmm.
The tragic discovery was made around 11:15 p.m. by a passing motorist, Stella Borges, who quickly alerted authorities. And this double murder just sent shockwaves through quiet little Benicia. Population back then only around 7,000 people.
Tiny community.
Yeah. Initial investigations, naturally, they focused on maybe a jealous rival, a local dispute. But every lead, every theory, just frustratingly yielded nothing conclusive.
What's particularly striking about this first attack is the killer's almost chilling efficiency and precision. It suggests a perpetrator who was prepared, decisive, and left behind minimal traditional motive or evidence. It was just an abrupt, devastating act that established this terrifying precedent for the violence that was still to unfold.
Okay, so the second attack. Equally devastating, but with its terrifying escalation and audacity. It occurred on July 4th, 1969, right amidst the fireworks, the celebrations of Independence Day.
Yeah, talk about brazen.
Right. This time, the location was Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, only about 4 miles from the Lake Herman Road site, so nearby. The victims were Darlene Elizabeth Farron, 22, a married waitress at the local Terry's restaurant, known for her vivacious spirit, apparently a complex social life, and Michael Renaud Magot, 19, a laborer and Farron's companion that evening.
They had parked their vehicle in the lot around midnight when this brown Ford or Chevrolet sedan pulls up alongside them. Michael Magot, who remarkably survived the attack.
Incredible.
He provided a partial but crucial description of the killer. A stocky white man, roughly 5'8" to 5'9" tall, weighing between 195 and 200 pounds, with noticeable curly brown hair and a round face. The assailant exited his vehicle, armed with a 9mm Luger pistol, shone a flashlight directly into their eyes, and then just opened fire. No warning, not a single word.
Darlene Farron was hit multiple times, arms, torso. Tragically, she succumbed to her injuries shortly after at Kaiser Foundation Hospital. Michael Magot, despite being shot in the face, neck, leg, knee, miraculously survived by playing dead.
Unbelievable courage or instinct.
Absolutely. The killer initially fired, at least 9 rounds before driving away, but then in this truly chilling moment that speaks volumes about his depravity, he returned, briefly. He heard Magot moan.
Oh, God.
And then fired 2 more shots into each victim, seemingly ensuring their demise. Can you even imagine that moment? Absolute terror, feigning death as the killer comes back to finish the job.
That return, that second volley of shots, it just demonstrates this cold-blooded determination, a desire for absolute finality that is truly horrifying. It adds another dark, calculated layer to the killer's psychological makeup.
And then, about 40 minutes later, 12:40 a.m., July 5th, the Zodiac makes his first chilling call to Vallejo PD from a payphone located eerily close to the station.
Right near the police station, yeah.
In this monotone, taunting voice, he calmly claims responsibility for both the Blue Rock Springs shooting and, crucially, explicitly links it to the Lake Herman Road murders from the year before.
And that was the first time he made that link himself, right?
The very first time. He stated, I want to report a double murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway to the public park, you will find the kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye. Just like that. This call, combined with Michael Magot's survival and his detailed description of the assailant, provided the very first direct, undeniable link connecting the 2 horrific crimes. It's also worth noting, Darlene Farron's life was apparently quite intricate. She had reportedly been followed by some mysterious man in the weeks prior, leading to some unproven theories that maybe she knew her killer. But those connections have never been definitively established.
Magot's survival, though, was undeniably a critical turning point for the investigation. It wasn't just about invaluable eyewitness testimony, though that was huge.
Sure.
It also offered the first direct voice link to the killer. This confirmed the Zodiac's chilling reach and, maybe more significantly, his profound desire to communicate directly with both law enforcement and the terrified public, actively shaping his own terrifying narrative.
The violence, it truly escalated and shifted dramatically with a third confirmed attack, September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa in Napa County.
Picturesque setting, wasn't it?
Yeah, beautiful reservoir, popular spot for picnics, quiet relaxation. The victims were college students. Brian Calvin Hartnell, 20, a pre-law student at Pacific Union College, thoughtful, academically inclined young man, and Cecilia Ann Shepard, 22, a music major. Known for her gentle kindness, deep involvement in church activities, they were just relaxing on a blanket near the water's edge, enjoying a peaceful afternoon when this hooded figure approached them around 6:30 p.m.
And this attack marked a significant, unsettling escalation in the killers. Well, his theatrics and control. The assailant appeared in what you can only describe as this disturbing costume, a black executioner-style hood with a white circle cross knuckle eerily resembling a gun sight sewn onto the chest. He wore sunglasses over eye slits clad in dark clothing.
And carrying weapons.
Right. He carried a .45 caliber pistol and a long, formidable knife. His initial ruse was that he was an escaped convict from Deer Lodge, Montana, desperately needed their car and money to escape. But this elaborate setup was just a terrifying prelude to the horrific brutality that was about to unfold.
After disarming Brian, making them feel helpless, the killer bound them both securely with pre-cut plastic clothesline. What followed was just truly sadistic. A protracted assault. Brian Hartnell was repeatedly stabbed 6 times in the back. Cecilia Shepard endured a staggering 10 stab wounds, front and back.
10 times! It's just horrific.
Cecilia tragically died 2 days later from her extensive injuries. But Brian Hartnell, against all odds, survived. After what was described as a grueling, lengthy recovery, and before casually leaving the scene, the killer then inscribed this chilling, taunting message on Hartnell's car door. Vallejo 12, 2687469, set 2769 6.30 by knife, along with his distinctive crosshair symbol and the date, marking his work.
The theatrical elements of this particular attack, the elaborate costume, the binding of the victims, that chilling carving on the car door, they strongly suggest a killer obsessed not just with violence, but with symbolism, control, and crafting this terrifying performance. This wasn't merely about taking lives, it was a deliberate act designed to make a profound, terrifying statement.
And again, the phone call.
Right. Just over an hour later, 7:40 p.m. that evening, the Zodiac made another call, this time to the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a payphone. He stated calmly, with this unnerving lack of emotion, "I want to report a murder. No, a double murder. They are 2 miles north of park headquarters. They were in a white Volkswagen Karmann Ghia."
So specific.
Very. The call was traced, but just like before, the killer had already fled the scene, vanished into the night. Brian Hartnell later provided a crucial description of the attacker's voice. Deliberate, no discernible accent, estimating his age between 20 and 30.
Okay, so the fourth and final confirmed murder, this one really deviated from the established pattern, created even greater fear because it happened October 11th, 1969, in the upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood of San Francisco.
Yeah, a major shift, out of the secluded areas.
Exactly. The victim was Paul Lee Stein, 29, a hardworking cab driver, also a history student at San Francisco State University, dedicated to supporting his young family. This was a significant shift, not just location, but victim type.
At that corner, Washington and Cherry, the killer, shot Stein once in the head with a 9mm pistol. Now, it's crucial to note, ballistic evidence indicated this was a different 9mm weapon from the one used at Blue Rock Springs.
Interesting, showing he had multiple weapons or acquired new ones.
Right. And after the murder, in this disturbing act, the killer tore a section of Stein's bloodied shirt, a macabre trophy. Witnesses, including teenagers from a nearby home, observed the stocky man wiping down the interior of the cab and then just casually walking away from the scene. Their description was vital. A white male, maybe 35, 45 years old, 5'8" to 5'10", 180, 200 pounds, crew-cut hair, and glasses.
And this is where a truly agonizing, critical mistake occurred. One that haunts investigators to this day.
The dispatch error.
The dispatch error. Police officers were actually in the immediate vicinity. They nearly apprehended him minutes later, but they mistakenly searched for a black suspect because of that communication breakdown. An oversight that likely allowed the Zodiac to just walk away freely.
Unbelievable near miss.
And the Zodiac himself, in a move that definitively cemented his involvement and further taunted authorities, mailed pieces of Stein's blood-stained shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle, accompanied by letters, proving his direct connection.
Playing games, flaunting it.
Totally. And while Stein's wallet and keys were missing, suggesting robbery, many investigators believe this was just a ruse, a diversion to obscure his true, inexplicable intent.
This urban killing profoundly heightened fears across the entire Bay Area. It irrevocably demonstrated that the killer could strike anywhere. Populated, affluent neighborhoods shattered any lingering sense of safety in numbers. The shift in victim profile, from young couples in secluded spots to a lone cab driver in the city, further underscored his unpredictable and adaptive nature, made him seem like this omnipresent threat.
So if we recap these 4 confirmed attacks, spanning less than a year, they tragically left 7 victims in their wake. 5 dead, 2 survivors. These crimes reveal a killer who is constantly adapting his methods, moving from .22 caliber to 9mm firearms, then to knives, all while consistently escalating his terrifying taunts. While forensic evidence did provide some consistency ballistics linking the firearms, those distinctive footprints matching size 10.5 Wingwalker's military boots.
Which suggested a specific type of footwear.
Right. Investigators hoped that would narrow the search, but the crucial DNA evidence was just not recoverable with the technology available back then. Early forensic methods, they just lack the sensitivity, the precision we have today, left a significant investigative gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And from a broader perspective, the evolution of these attacks, particularly that shocking theatricality at Lake Berryessa, it strongly suggests a killer who wasn't just refining his methods. He was meticulously crafting and refining his public performance. The Zodiac wasn't simply committing crimes, he was communicating a message, shaping his own terrifying narrative, and as we saw with the Paul Stein murder, demonstrating a chilling ability to defy expectations and strike anywhere, anytime. This adaptability and desire for control truly set him apart.
It really does. And reflecting on these details, what becomes clear is that beyond the confirmed Bay Area spree, investigators have long explored these, tantalizing connections to earlier crimes, particularly the brutal 1966 murder of Cherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California.
Yes, the Riverside connection, always debated.
Always. This case shares some truly eerie similarities: method, victim profile, subsequent communications, though the definitive links, as we'll get into, remain hotly debated and, officially unconfirmed. But it feels like a dark, disturbing prequel, doesn't it?
It really does. On October 30th, 1966, Cherry Jo Bates, an 18-year-old freshman at Riverside City College, was brutally stabbed and beaten near the campus library. Bates was described as, bright, popular, active in cheerleading, student government. She'd gone to study after church, and her Volkswagen Beetle was later found disabled.
An effort with.
Right. Exactly. The distributor coil and condenser had been intentionally removed, strongly suggesting the killer deliberately tampered with it to strand her. That premeditated act immediately sets this unsettling tone.
And around 6:15 p.m., witnesses recalled hearing piercing screams. Bates was tragically discovered the next morning, multiple stab wounds to her chest, throat slashed almost to the point of decapitation, significant defensive injuries on her hands, indicating a desperate struggle.
Horrific.
Similar to Lake Herman Road, no sexual assault, but the attack was described as frenzied, executed with a small knife, maybe only 3 to 4 inches long. And what's more, the footprints found at the scene matched military-style shoes, strikingly similar to the distinctive Wingwalkers later linked to the Zodiac.
Another potential link right there. Then, a month later, November 29, 1966, typed confession letters titled The Confession were sent to both Riverside Police and the Riverside Press Enterprise. The anonymous author claimed Bates had to die for rejecting men, described the murder with chilling detail. She went to the slaughter like a lamb.
Chilling phrasing.
Then, in April 1967, handwritten letters arrived, one reading, starkly, Bates had to die. There will be more. These communications echoed the Zodiac's later style, didn't they? Both in the taunting content and their distinct, menacing tone. Sparked immediate comparisons for investigators.
And then there's this truly haunting detail. A desk in the college library bore this chilling carved poem. It read, "Sick of living, unwilling to die cut, dot clean, that if red clean, dot blood spurting, dripping, spilling."
Wow, incredibly graphic.
Incredibly specific, graphic, and seems to foreshadow some of the raw, violent language the Zodiac would later use in his own letters. But what perhaps most significantly bolsters the potential link is the Zodiac's own explicit reference to Riverside. In a 1970 letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, he stated, quote, "I do have to give them credit for stumbling across my Riverside activity, but they are only finding the easy ones. There are a hell of a lot more down there."
That direct claim. It's confounded investigators and enthusiasts for decades. What does that mean?
Exactly. It raises this profoundly important question. If the Zodiac was indeed active as early as 1966 in Southern California, what does that imply about his evolution as a killer, his geographic movements, the true scope of his terror?
Handwriting analysis at the time suggested potential matches between the Riverside letters and later Zodiac communications. Now, while DNA from a 1966 watch found at the scene, which contained hair and skin, later ruled out suspects like Ted Bundy,
Right.
the direct connection to the Zodiac remains hotly contentious. In 2016, Riverside police officially stated the case was unrelated, citing no DNA match to Zodiac evidence. Yet many, including Zodiac survivor Michael Mageau,
Who identified a photo.
exactly, who jarringly identified a photo of a Riverside suspect as the man who shot him. They still profoundly disagree with the official stance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Triad Joe Bates' brother, numerous amateur investigators, they firmly argue the Zodiac may indeed have started his reign of terror in Southern California before migrating north to the Bay Area. It feels less like mere coincidence and more like, well, a dark, disturbing prequel to the confirmed attacks. And it's not just the Bates case. Other potential early links have been explored, like the 1963 double murder of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards in Gaviota, California. Victims bound and shot shares thematic elements. Then there are the 1964 killings of Johnny Ray and Joyce Swindle in San Diego, also Lover's Lanes, firearms. But while these cases share some unsettling elements, they lack the conclusive ties, the communication links, that make the Bates case so persistently debated and intriguing.
And the disputed DNA evidence for the Bates case, it perfectly illustrates the complexities, the inherent limitations of forensic science, both then and now. Connecting these disparate threads across decades, it's tough. The fact that a definitive link can't be established through DNA doesn't always definitively mean there isn't one, especially with older, less preserved evidence, and the continually evolving nature of forensic techniques. It's this constant dance between what we can prove and what we suspect.
Okay, diving deeper now into the communications. The Zodiac's letters. They're a true deep dive into his twisted mind, aren't they?
Absolutely. A window, however dark.
These communications, over 20 letters, cards, ciphers, sent between 69 and 74, they didn't just announce his crimes. They utterly transformed him from a mere murderer into an absolute media sensation, a phantom figure looming over the public consciousness. He signed everyone with his signature crosshair symbol. Some theorize inspired by the Zodiac watch logo, others suggest celestial navigation.
Still debated.
Still debated. But the content and style of these letters were remarkably consistent. Formed this chilling pattern. They often began with that infamous phrase, "This is the Zodiac speaking."
Right. Always that opening.
Contained strategic misspellings, which many now theorize were deliberate attempts at disguise.
A way to mask his education level, perhaps.
Perhaps. Boasts about his crimes, explicit graphic threats, intriguing cultural references. Collectively, these communications revealed this highly narcissistic persona, utterly obsessed with fame, control over the public narrative, and this chilling sense of superiority.
The first of these terrifying communiques arrived July 31st, 1969, simultaneously sent to the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner.
Covering the major papers.
Exactly. Each letter included 1/3 of a 408 symbol cipher, now famously known as Z408, along with explicit, disturbing details of the Lake Herman and Blue Rock Springs attacks. Details only the killer would know. And he issued an immediate, chilling demand. Front-page publication. Threatening more killings if they didn't comply. Under immense public pressure, facing this terrifying ultimatum, the San Francisco Chronicle printed the cipher on August 4th.
And what's truly fascinating is how quickly that first cipher, Z408, was solved. Just 4 days later, August 8, 1969, cracked by a schoolteacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betty in Salinas, California, an incredible feat of amateur cryptanalysis.
Amazing. And the message, when decrypted, it was chillingly narcissistic, deeply disturbing. It read, and I think it's worth quoting fully, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all they I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to sloy down or atop my collectiog of slaves for my afterlife. Aberi Temeth PT."
That phrase, getting your rocks off with a girl, it just stands out, doesn't it? Not just for its vulgarity, but for what it suggests about his internal world. This chilling blend of violence and perverse pleasure may be a substitute for normal human connection.
It's deeply unsettling.
The deliberate misspellings are obvious, but that chilling afterlife slave theme, where his victims would serve him in the afterlife, it truly stands out. Suggests a deeply deranged mind, perhaps influenced by occult ideas or, Pulp Fiction. But that wasn't the only cipher he sent. November 8, 1969, the 340 symbol cipher, Z340, was sent along with the dripping pen card. This one proved far more resistant. Remained unsolved for 51 long years.
51 years. Imagine the frustration. The breakthrough for Z340 finally came in 2020. Cracked by this international team of dedicated codebreakers, software engineer David Oranchak, cryptographer Jarl Van Eyck, mathematician Sam Blake, they used sophisticated computational methods to finally untangle its complex logic.
And the message of Z340 was also incredibly revealing, wasn't it? Particularly because it directly addressed public speculation about his identity.
Exactly, it read. I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which bring up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sewer, because now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death.
That's absolutely fascinating. Directly referencing a TV call-in show where someone had claimed to be the Zodiac, the killer explicitly denies it, showing his immense obsession with controlling his own narrative, discrediting imposters.
Total control freak.
And even with those major breakthroughs, shorter, tantalizing ciphers still remain unsolved today. Z13, which tantalizingly read "My Name Is," sent April 20 in 1970, and Z32, believed to be a bomb code with coordinates from June 26, 1970. Still baffling cryptographers.
And the letters contained far more than just ciphers. He included crude bomb diagrams, chilling threats to shoot school children, explicitly stating, "I shall snipe the kiddies as they come bouncing out." Just pure terror tactics.
Unbelievable.
He also integrated curious cultural references, mentioning the Mikado opera, even the Exorcist film, and later communications, suggests a mind perhaps influenced by popular culture, absorbing things, and of course the infamous tally scores like me 37 SFPD 00, a constant taunting reminder of his perceived success.
And the Halloween card to reporter Paul Avery.
Right, proclaiming you're doomed. Another terrifying, highly personal touch, designed to instill direct fear in someone covering the case.
And what truly cemented his claims, ensured the public knew he was serious, eliminated any doubt, was the tangible authentication. He mailed pieces of Paul Stein's bloodied shirt to the Chronicle, explicitly proving his involvement in that murder.
That was a clear sign of his psychological gamesmanship, daring authorities to catch him while flaunting his trophies.
So the persona that meticulously emerged from these communications, intelligent, erratic, deeply narcissistic, potentially possessing some military or cryptographic knowledge.
Seems likely, yeah. He clearly drew inspiration from a diverse range of sources, comics, movies, maybe even astrology. And recent analyses of his handwriting, those deliberate misspellings, they've strongly suggested these might have been carefully crafted disguises.
Trying to throw people off.
Right. An attempt to throw investigators off his scent, especially as his handwriting appeared to evolve over time. This makes his communications just this complex psychological puzzle in themselves, offering tantalizing, if profoundly disturbing, glimpses into his inner world, his possible motivations beyond just mere violence.
What truly sets this case apart, for me anyway, is that constant dance between strong circumstantial evidence like against Arthur Lee Allen and the frustrating, maddening lack of definitive forensic links, especially DNA.
It's the core frustration of the case.
His investigation faced monumental challenges from the start. Multiple agencies, FBI involved, thousands of tips, but constant jurisdictional issues and that frustrating lack of DNA evidence back then.
Early efforts, they had to focus primarily on handwriting comparisons from the letters, composite sketches from eyewitnesses, but these were often conflicting, difficult to act on definitively.
The advent of DNA tech, early 2000s, offered this glimmer of hope, didn't it? But even that's been fraught with difficulty.
It has. In 2002, partial DNA was successfully profiled from postage stamps on some Zodiac letters. This indicated the killer was male, and importantly, a non-secretor.
Explain that again.
A non-secretor means that, unlike most people, his blood-type antigens weren't present in other bodily fluids like saliva, made it harder to link traditional forensic evidence like saliva on a stamp directly to his blood type.
Okay.
But despite this breakthrough, no matches were ever found in existing databases. Then more recently, 2021, a new attempt at touch DNA analysis from the letters hoping to pick up skin cells yielded only inconclusive results. It just highlights the continued difficulties in extracting viable, definitive DNA from decades-old, often degraded evidence. Time is a formidable adversary for forensics. So frustrating. And for decades, one name has consistently topped the list of prime suspects, almost synonymous with the Zodiac investigation: Arthur Leigh Allen,
Allen, yes. The perennial suspect.
former schoolteacher, convicted child molester. He became the prime suspect in 1971. Drew intense scrutiny from law enforcement. He was born December 18th, 1933, lived in Vallejo, critical geographical detail given the initial attacks.
And there was indeed significant, compelling circumstantial evidence against Allen. He notoriously wore a Zodiac brand watch, featuring the exact crosshair logo the killer used as his signature.
That's pretty specific.
Very. Perhaps most damningly, Michael Mageau, the lone survivor from Blue Rock Springs, identified Allen in 1991 from a photo lineup, stated he was the man who shot him and Darlene Ferrin.
Wow, years later.
Years later, yes. Furthermore, friends of Allen reported him discussing chilling fantasies about killing couples, collecting slaves, echoing the Zodiac's own horrifying words directly from the decrypted ciphers.
So he talked about it. He apparently talked about it. He also owned firearms similar to those used, possessed the distinctive Wingwalker military boots, even owned a typewriter that, according to some analyses, matched some of the letters sent by the Zodiac.
Okay, so despite all this incredibly strong circumstantial evidence, every search warrant, including those in 72 and 92, frustratingly yielded no direct, definitive link.
None. His handwriting, fingerprints, and most crucially, his DNA never matched the evidence specifically connected to the Zodiac. Arthur Leigh Allen died in 1992 of heart disease, staunchly denying any involvement right up to the very end.
It just leaves you pondering, doesn't it? What single elusive piece of information could have finally broken this case wide open, given how close they seem to be with him?
This raises that profoundly important question. Why does this case, despite all the unparalleled investigative effort, the significant technological advances like DNA analysis, why does it remain unsolved? The challenges inherent to cold cases, limitations of historical evidence collection, degradation of forensic material over time, the evolving nature of forensic science itself. They're all laid bare here. It's a testament to the Zodiac's meticulousness, or perhaps simply luck.
Right.
The sheer volume of multiple suspect theories, even the more speculative ones you see online, ultimately underscores that deep human need to find an answer, even when conclusive evidence remains maddeningly elusive.
Absolutely. And Allen isn't the only one who's been thrust into the spotlight. In 2021, this amateur sleuth group, the Case Braiders, they publicly named Gary Francis Post, a deceased house painter, as their prime suspect.
Post, yeah, that made headlines.
It did. They cited evidence like scars on Post. They claimed matched composite sketches, complex anagrams they supposedly found hidden in Zodiac letters, even a specific forehead scar they believed was a match.
However, authorities largely dismissed the casebreaker's claim as circumstantial, again, emphasizing the absence of any official, independently verified DNA link established from Zodiac evidence. It highlights that vast difference between, passionate citizen sleuthing and the official law enforcement standards of proof.
Sure, different threshold.
Different thresholds. Other suspects have also been considered over the years. Lawrence Kane, linked by Cheri Jo Bates' sister. Richard Bykowski, whose voice was said by some to match the Zodiac's phone calls. Even Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, though he was officially dismissed after forensic comparisons.
Kaczynski always seems to pop up in these things.
He does. And newer theories, often seen on platforms like X, have suggested wilder possibilities, CIA involvement, the baffling prospect of multiple killers, though none of these have ever been proven beyond speculation.
It's incredible. Despite all these theories, all these named suspects, all these technological advancements, the case officially remains open, active. The Vallejo Police Department, among others, continues to receive tips annually, shows the enduring public and professional interest.
It does. The persistence of so many theories, even the highly speculative ones, just underscores that fundamental human need to bring order to chaos, to find a definitive answer, especially when a killer has so brazenly flaunted his anonymity.
From a broader perspective, the Zodiac case offers this chilling early example of a criminal's highly successful manipulation of mass media.
Oh, absolutely. Master manipulator.
He didn't just operate in the shadows. He meticulously used the public's thirst for information, the newspaper's competitive drive, to elevate himself into a household name. This amplified his message of terror, the fear he instilled, fundamentally shaping both public perception and the investigation itself.
Reflecting on these details, what becomes clear is that the Zodiac's letters didn't just communicate his crimes, they amplified fear across the entire Bay Area, created this almost pervasive climate of paranoia. He truly understood the nascent power of the press long before the internet, didn't he?
He really did, effectively turning newspapers into his own personal broadcast channel, bypassing traditional investigative channels.
And what's particularly fascinating here is how the newspapers, especially the San Francisco Chronicle, found themselves caught in this agonizing ethical dilemma.
Yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. They published the ciphers and threats, undoubtedly boosted circulation, kept readers engaged, but at the same time, they were inadvertently spreading panic, magnifying the killer's reach and legend. The public impact was profound, terrifying. For instance, credible threats to shoot schoolchildren led directly to unprecedented armed escorts for school buses, immediate changes in bus routes across districts.
Wow, I didn't know about the armed escorts.
Yeah. The period of 1969-1970 saw widespread curfews, community vigilance campaigns, a palpable shift in public behavior. Women started carrying whistles for self-defense. Men started carrying guns. A profound chilling effect settled over the region.
And the media, maybe unknowingly, inadvertently portrayed the Zodiac as this almost phantom-like, omnipotent figure, amplifying his legend with every headline. Reporter Paul Avery, who received direct threats from the Zodiac, famously started wearing "I am not Paul Avery" buttons, a macabre joke, but it highlighted the very real, personal danger reporters faced.
Definitely. It was this terrifying, unprecedented mix of public fascination and sheer terror, as the killer's letters openly mocked police impotence, rubbing their agonizing lack of progress directly in their faces for all to see.
We should also touch on the survivors, the psychological trauma for Michael McGough and Brian Hartnell, and of course for the victims' families. It's an often overlooked aspect amidst the focus on the killer himself.
Absolutely crucial. Their testimonies, their harrowing recoveries, their later efforts at identifying suspects, they're powerful reminders of the human cost. For Michael McGough, he survived horrific wounds, face, neck, limbs, and carried the psychological burden of being the first survivor who heard the killer speak, who saw him. His life was forever altered, living with those memories, and later, the hope and frustration of suspect identification.
And Brian Hartnell, surviving that brutal stabbing, 6 wounds, endured a grueling recovery. His detailed account of the killer's costume, his theatrical pretense, the methodical nature of the attack, provided critical insights into the Zodiac's escalating psychological game.
Their stories aren't static, are they? They evolve with every new theory, every new development, every re-examination of the case.
Right, and the media scrutiny they faced, the constant revisiting of their trauma. It's a testament to the long-term ripple effect of these crimes on individual lives. It raises a crucial point, really. How do we tell these stories without re-traumatizing those who live through them? It's a fine line in true crime.
It really is. And it's truly incredible how this case, after all these decades, still generates new theories, documentaries, fervent conversations online. The Zodiac's enigma has truly persisted, symbolizing this unique form of unsolved evil in the public consciousness. It's undeniably become a deeply ingrained part of our cultural fabric, almost a modern myth.
That enduring fascination is powerfully evident in the sheer volume of cultural touchstones it's inspired. Robert Graysmith's meticulous book Zodiac and that subsequent, critically acclaimed 2007 film.
Great film.
Great film. Brought the story to new generations, meticulously detailing the investigation, the obsession of those trying to solve it. Beyond that, a plethora of podcasts like Monster, the Zodiac Killer have delved deeply. And this is the Zodiac speaking, even bolstered the Gary Francis Post theory for a time. Shows how new interpretations can quickly gain traction.
And it's not just mainstream media, is it? Online communities are absolutely crucial to the ongoing fascination. Forums like Reddit are packed with amateur sleuths dissecting ciphers, debating every minute detail, scrutinizing every piece of evidence with relentless dedication. Groups like the Case Breakers, which we mentioned, represent those dedicated amateur efforts to solve this mystery, often operating with intense passion, commitment.
There are even recent developments, like those unconfirmed 2024 claims of the CIA potentially reopening the case, a rumor that just instantly sent shockwaves through the true crime community.
Right, always something new popping up.
Ongoing podcasts continue to explore profiler insights, comparing Zodiac's motivations and MO to other notorious serial killers, asking why he was so driven by communication and control. These continued discussions, new interpretations, show the case remains incredibly active in public discourse, evolving, capturing new audiences, sometimes even leading to more speculative, wilder theories, like those satirical links to figures like Ted Cruz you sometimes see on X, highlights the case's pervasive, almost meme-like presence in modern culture.
Which raises that deeply important question. Why do certain unsolved mysteries, particularly one like the Zodiac, resonate so profoundly? Why do they persist for so long in the collective consciousness? It's not simply the horror of the crimes, though that's obviously huge. It's a profound human need for answers, for order in chaos, and the sheer tantalizing allure of the unknown. The Zodiac, with his meticulously crafted ciphers, his brazen, taunting letters, he essentially left us a riddle, a twisted puzzle that society feels compelled to solve. And that, I think, more than anything, is why his chilling, enduring legacy continues to hold us in its grip.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, just remember that the Zodiac shadow, it looms large, a testament both to the terror he inflicted and the persisting questions that continue to haunt us. We've journeyed through his confirmed attacks. We've tried to humanize the victims whose lives were so cruelly interrupted. David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Michael McGew, Cecilia Shepard, Brian Hartnell, and Paul Stein, reminding us of the profound human impact of these horrific crimes. We've explored the eerie possible links to earlier crimes, analyzed his chilling communications that shaped his twisted persona, and examined the relentless, but so far fruitless, investigative efforts.
And despite modern forensic advancements, despite the tireless efforts by law enforcement and dedicated citizen sleuths alike, the Zodiac's true identity remains one of the most tantalizing and frustrating mysteries in criminal history. The case is just the stark reminder that some puzzles, especially those intentionally crafted by a killer, defy definitive answers, leaving behind this void that society constantly tries to fill.
What does it mean when a puzzle designed by a killer remains unsolved for over half a century? Will the Zodiac ever truly be unmasked, or is his anonymity in some twisted way part of his enduring legacy? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.